I've got. Okay. I want to welcome everybody to our meeting. I've got to go over some things before we get started, and just bear with me. Okay. According with Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 regarding limited gatherings to prevent the further spread of COVID-19 and allowing public meeting to be held electronically, the Marshall County Board of Public Utilities Committee has chosen to meet electronically and limit public access to this meeting, determining it's necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare in light of COVID-19. I need a motion to accept this. Got a motion from Tony Byers.
This is Donnie, I'll second.
Got a second? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, I'm sorry.
Get your roll call.
Yes, we got to do a roll call. Roll call vote, please.
Donnie Moses.
Yes.
Joseph Warner.
Yes, ma'am.
Ray Wakefield.
Yes.
Tony Byer.
Yes.
Mickey King.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. We probably should have done a roll call vote of the members. We need to do that now, this present. Or are you okay with? Okay. She's going to do a roll call vote of everybody that's with us.
Donnie Moses.
Here.
Joseph Warner.
Here.
Ray Wakefield.
Here.
Tony Byer.
Here.
Mickey King.
Here.
Everybody's present.
Okay. Okay. We need to approve the minutes of March 17th, 2020 and May the 5th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, it's Ray Wakefield. I move to approve both sets of minutes.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Joseph Warner, I second.
Got a second from Joseph Warner. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Donnie Moses.
Yes.
Joseph Warner.
Yes, ma'am.
Ray Wakefield.
Yes.
Tony Byer.
Yes.
Mickey King.
Yes, ma'am.
Passes 5-0.
Okay. Both sets of minutes passes. Okay, moving on to our agenda, attorney's report. Miss Cecilia?
So, Mr. Bond and his wife, she inherited, along with her 4 siblings, the property, and, 172.70 acres. And then she bought out her siblings at the rate of $17.6028 an acre. And then they bought the neighboring tract of $59.71 an acre, and their basis on that is basically $2,400 an acre. There's no way to defer capital gains except for a 1031 exchange, but that's not going to be possible given the nature of the property. So the best thought was the one that Matthew came up with at the last meeting, which was to buy the 1 acre next to the river and then get an easement with an option on the other. But we can't be paying his capital gains on that. I mean, because we're paying what, $10,000 an acre, and every time we
More than that.
yeah
Oh, yeah.
yeah way more than that.
No.
But anytime we say it's 300,000 and the capital gains is 80,000, then our basis is 380 and his capital gains just keep going up. It's a never-ending cycle. He's got to pay his own capital gains. That's the only way this is going to work. And if he wants to do the bulk of it after we get the permit, then we can put all that on another track. But, there's no way to do that the way he's wanting to do it. Now, I guess the only question is whether or not we absolutely have to own the property in fee simple in order to proceed with the permit.
Got a clarification.
We did get a clarification. TVA did say that we did not have to own the property.
That makes things easier.
Uh,
But we do have to have some
I-
kind of
I have an
contract.
option. Yeah, we have to have an option.
the thing was the TVA guy was real reluctant to say yes, but everybody else had said yes, and he did say that it would not. After the meeting, we sort of talked and maybe go ahead and buy the 1-something acre just to show them that we have it, and then have a pretty firm contract in place to
About the
go
rest.
to show them that we do have it locked in, that we can buy it, purchase it.
Okay. Did you get that in writing?
No.
Jeez.
Matthew, do you
Wait,
want
which part? The words from TVA or the?
Yeah.
I think we do have that. I think when the minutes that Tom sent from our call, I think has it all noted. So,
I think it's been transcribed.
Okay.
and then one other thing, just I don't know, Tommy and Mickey, y'all may want to weigh in on this, but I think Mr. Bonds, I don't think he's necessarily wanting the board to pay the gains on the purchase. I think what his concern is if it has to be reverted back and he has to buy it back, that's where he's worried about the gains coming into play. I think he's okay with paying the gains on the actual property for the purchase, and especially if we split it up into two tracks and buy it in two different tax years. I think he was okay with that. It was just that if we didn't know for sure that we were going to get it, and then it went over into a different tax year, and then we had to buy it back, that when we bought it, when he had to buy it back, obviously if it crosses over into a different tax year, he's got to pay gains on it at that point. And then if he paid gains on it and then we reverted it back, I think he wanted to have his gains, the gains taxes that he had to pay when it crossed tax years is what he was worried about.
Well, if now we don't have to do that, we can get away with just an option. That won't be an issue.
Right. I think that was more, I just wanted to clarify, I think that was his bigger concern, was not necessarily paying the gains. It was if he had to pay the gains and then he had to buy the property back, he would be out the gains, basically.
If we had to own the property, and if we got to the end of the year and we didn't have an answer, I would say, let him buy it back so it's in the same year, and then we repurchase it again after January 1st. And that would avoid
That would be an excellent option, Tony.
that would be a way to work it. But, and I don't know, I'll disagree a little bit with you, Mickey. I wouldn't purchase the one track. The contract should be enough, lawyer, to make sure we're bound to buy it. Because you get into the same thing. What if we bought that and then we don't get the permit? Now you've got a chunk of land on the river. There's nothing you can do with it. So I wouldn't close on any of it, but I would have a good firm contract.
Yeah, I think if we just have the option to purchase, an exclusive option to purchase, now with what the TWRA is saying, that's good to go. Then we'll just change the contract into an option. But I was working off the list that Mr. Bond had given us of things he wanted.
Right, and we just found out when our last week was when we had that call with TVA. So that was I think it was it was week before last, but it was news. So we haven't had that for terribly long.
So now we only need to do is to get we need to get the perk test out there, and we need to get the easements marked.
Yes. And Bob probably tell you, but I think it's actually in Bob's list, but the soils guy's scheduled to be out there this week. So.
Okay. It's gonna rain every day.
Okay.
You know, what I-
Tony's
You gotta
got,
be able to see if it's working.
Yeah. He was, his name's Tim Baxter, and he was scheduled to be out there, tomorrow.
okay.
I had a question.
Tony's got a question.
On this offer to purchase, I noticed it's Marshall County purchasing it, not the Marshall County Board of Public Utilities. Well, if the county's purchasing it, who's paying for it?
We pay.
We pay for it.
So you pay for it, but you don't.
The Board of Public Utilities has to purchase real property in the name of the county for the use and benefit of the Board of
That's how
Public
it reads.
Utilities.
Marshall County for the use and benefit of the
So,
Marshall County.
so
Board of
Marshall
Public-
County has no liability. Somebody gets hurt on the property, you know, it blows up, whatever. You know, and I'm being serious.
Yep.
You know, I just wanted to make sure that the ownership and responsibility clearly was with the Public Utility Board and not with the county. So I got to think about it. I thought, well, hey,
We're all under the same
We're all
blanket
under the
insurance
same
policy.
well, yeah, except that, like, you know, if the Public Utility Board was paying the money and the county was getting the property, is that a contribution to the county, you know, from a bookkeeping standpoint? how
Well,
does
if
that work?
if anything dissolved from the utility board, it all comes back to Marshall County.
And we have the
Everything
governmental
is,
tort liability.
The liability wasn't as much as the bookkeeping on paying for it but not owning it.
It's on our books, but it has to read to the use and benefit of.
Okay.
All right. We've been working on the easements. We still have several that, two that have refused. And the other ones keep saying, as soon as you get ready to dig, let us know. We can't do that. We have to have them in place before we can move forward. So if anybody knows Sims Barrett Sims, Andy Wallace, Ruth Colby, Gary Finley, still can't get to him. He's in a nursing home, and Christopher Thweet, James Allen, Craig Hutchison, and James and Kelly Harden. Anybody that knows those can talk to them, or Bob, can we put any of these in the right of way? Bob? Hello?
little bub.
Yeah, hello, yeah, yeah, I've been looking at these. I didn't know the exact list. I had a list of about 12, but, I'm just looking at those to see if we can put any of them in the right of way. And I'll probably have to come down there and meet with Tommy too.
Gary
And
Finley should be.
figure out where the existing line is, on any of these.
Gary Finley is
And
the one that's
Cecilia, if you could send me that list of those people you just named, because some of these that I've got may have already been obtained.
Yeah, we've been working hard on them.
Yeah, it looks like this list has been reduced since the last time I talked to Stacy.
Well, we still have two with the state of Tennessee.
Right, and I'm still trying to get my survey on that. I talked to him day before yesterday, and I haven't gotten it yet. And, he keeps promising it to me the next day, and I never get it. So I'm going to have to go over and see him, I guess, and see what the problem is, and see if he can send it to us, and we'll plot it.
Okay.
In house here, because he's got the survey information. He's just got to plot it.
Okay. Well,
And that would be the Henry Horton part.
one's at Henry Horton and one's at 64 or 40.
That's a TDOT. That's a TDOT permit. On Old 40 down there in Farmington.
Well, it just says state of Tennessee.
Yeah, I think it's a TDOT permit that we have to have
It
easement.
Yeah, we've already filed a application for that, and we should already have that down there on Highway 40.
Yeah, we've not gotten it back in-house here yet.
Okay,
It's still showing on my list.
okay.
All right, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, superintendent's report, Tommy?
As of right now, from talking to Tom and him yesterday, we're still needing the agreement from CUD, Rutherford County, for our water purchase contract. I've sent that guy 2 emails. I've not got any response from him from either email. I'm just got to walk over or drive over and knock on the door and sit down and talk to him or what. But we need. I know y'all want that price in there. Y'all want a starting price to where we start off at.
When I read it yesterday, I clicked on a little button or something to do that. And I thought, well, heck, they're still not giving us a first term purchase price.
No, he's not responded back to me. I've sent him 2 emails. And I've not got no response from him, so I'm just going to go. I'm going to go over and see if I can take him to lunch or something.
Well, that's good. I thought we were accepting the fact that we weren't getting a purchase price.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
But-
I want to do.
I
This
just didn't
is
think
hindering.
about
This is one of several things. It's hindering our permit submittal. The purchase of the bond property. I think Matthew and him still waiting on some topographics to where we can get some plans drawn up or preliminary plans drawn up for submittal. So you know,
Plan.
right? We've got several things that's hindering this. So Tom and him, if we can get a hold of this together by the end of the month, he's looking at about mid-June, from what I understood him say yesterday,
Mid-June.
before we submit.
What about the Chapel Hill?
The
Hard to
Chapel
think.
Hill agreement, I got a phone conference set up with him tomorrow.
Okay.
Tom and Mark. They're wanting a dedication. The state's wanting a dedication from Chapel Hill of what kind of water they're going to purchase and at what time frame if they're looking at shutting down their water plant such as that.
If they're wanting a commitment for a good bit of water.
Correct.
Based on their letter.
Was it CUD, the property, Chapel Hill, and what was it one more thing that we were looking?
Murfreesboro?
The CUD,
Murfreesboro.
Murfreesboro CUD contract, the Chapel Hill water commitment, the
Jackson Thornton.
purchase of property. We got to have a financial analyzation.
Which we have that in
In works.
works.
Yeah, because in their letter, there again, when they sent their RFQ or whatever it was, they kind of said what the costs were going to be. But in the letter that I read yesterday, it just said, we're going to charge by the hour, but didn't say how much per hour. So I thought we needed a little more clarification in that letter. And I'm not trying to be a jerk today. It's just that I read all this stuff yesterday.
I think answering the question to that is when we talked to him and met with him, he thought he could get under that maximum number that he quoted there but they have to do everything by the hour, I think, so that
Well, as
they,
long as he give us an hourly rate, because that
Yeah.
letter didn't really, and I understand that, but is it $1,000 an hour or is it $200?
I think it was broke out in the RFQ.
It was, but I thought this letter may supersede the RFQ,
Yeah,
so I thought it ought to be contained in it.
yeah.
okay. Okay, go ahead, Tommy.
But that's where we're at on the, that almost covered everything.
I'm off.
And as far as the easement update, that's Cecilia was going over. We've been sort of held back on the COVID thing, so we're fixing to start just hitting it hard and go on. There's no handshaking, no hugging, and get it out of the way.
Okay. So you have anything else at all?
That'd be it.
Has anybody got any questions for Tommy or anything before we move on? Okay. Okay, Bob, engineering report.
Yeah, the Yale Road project is out for bid. The bid opening is June the 2nd at 2:00. Haven't really determined how we're gonna have that bid opening, or how we're gonna limit it, but I guess we'll kind of wait and see closer to when that comes up. But it is out for bid.
Is that possibly something we could do here, just us do it here and then have the bidders call in?
We could. Yeah, right now the information for bidders says it's just going to be held at your office. It doesn't. We didn't attempt to put any limitations on it because we didn't know what it would be at that time. But that's probably a good idea, just to have the bid opening with just us, and the bidders can call in, such as we're doing now.
I don't guess it has to be here. I mean, we could do the same thing as at your office and just open up a line or something other to just call in so that they could be online if they would like to be and hear the response.
Yeah, because the bids are going to come to your office.
Right. And a bid opening is not a public meeting. It's just a bid opening between contractors.
Okay.
It's just so that they could hear what each other's bids are. I mean, they're gonna get a tally anyway.
We always send them a sheet out. Okay. All right. Bob, we got Linwood subdivision.
Right. Winwood subdivision. They had sent me, the developer and his engineer had sent me a plan of Winwood, a revised plan of Winwood subdivision. I believe a developer came into the board meeting at one time on the adjacent property he was going to purchase and develop, and he wanted to share in the cost of part of that line where he could connect to it. And so we had required the Winwood developer to put a T in a valve there, a couple of valves there to do that. Apparently the developer has backed out on the adjacent property, and so we told the Winwood developer yesterday that he could just put an elbow there. We wouldn't put those valves there. Since the guy's not going to share in the cost of it, he's tried to call him, and the guy wouldn't return his call even. So I think development of that adjacent property is probably not going to happen. I think a lot of it was in the floodplain, and he probably realized that he couldn't get that many lots in there to make it worth his while. So I did email the Winwood developer yesterday and his engineer, and told him to go ahead and just put the 90-degree bend right there where the line turns and goes up the road.
Bob, I just happened to notice that one of the adjoining property owners are the two gentlemen, Chris Threet and James Allen, that we need an easement from.
That's correct. Yeah, and I don't think it was the owner. It was the guy who was going to buy that property from them that backed out of the deal.
Teasley, I think is what his last name was.
Well, we still need the easement. I was just trying to figure some leverage.
Okay.
There's two lot 11. Lot 11 twice.
It may be two different phases.
Yeah, they're two different phases.
So it's a 20 lot subdivision.
Okay. Okay. Anybody got any questions about that? Okay. Bob, we've already talked about the soil scientist.
Yeah, then that was the only other item that I had. Yeah.
Okay. So you think he's gonna be there today?
He was supposed to be there on tomorrow, Wednesday.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Now, we did have rain yesterday. I don't know if y'all had rain, but he was going to be in the Chapel Hill area this week. So also he had a job in Chapel Hill to do. So that's one reason we got it kind of quickly because he was going to be up in that area. I don't think he lives in Marshall County. I think I always thought he lived in Grundy County. But
Okay. All right. You have anything else, Bob?
that's it.
Okay, thank you. Gail, bad debt write-offs.
The bad debt write-off list that I present every May, we're going to write off $2,367.88. We absorbed $4 and a penny, making our write-off balance of $2,363.87. Now, these are still trying to be collected with some letters, and the ones in collection, the ones that we can't are the bankruptcies and the deceased that do not have an estate. So
Okay, so we need a motion.
we do need a motion.
Gail, this is Ray. I had just a question on those two big ones, Jason Leonard and Gerald Lloyd.
Yes.
Why are they so large? Was that a leak or just
Jewel
went
Lloyd.
on too long?
Yeah, Jewel Lloyd had a leak, and she was renting. She felt it was not her responsibility to pay that, and she moved out and left it.
All right.
The other,
Leonard.
he rented a house for 2 months in Warner's Ridge and didn't pay rent, didn't pay his water bill. I don't know that he paid his electric either, and he left.
All right. Thank you.
Do we keep, after we charge these off, do we keep up with these names? So if they ever want water again, we can tell them. after
Yes.
they pay their-
Right.
I felt like we did.
The social security numbers, we can, whenever they come in to sign up for service, we ask them, but we also check the system to see if they're in there.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the write-off.
Okay.
Tony Byer.
Tony Byer made the motion that we approve the write-offs. Do I have a second?
Joseph Warner, second.
Joseph Warner, a second. Okay, any other discussion? Okay. Roll call vote.
Donnie Moses,
Yes.
Joseph Warner,
Yes, ma'am.
Ray Wakefield,
Yes.
Tony Byer,
Yes.
Mickey King.
Yes, ma'am.
Passes 5-1.
Passes 5-0. Okay. You have anything else, Gail?
I do not.
Okay. Okay, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business?
Mick, you going to cover the letter from Mr. Lee relative to our development near his property?
Yes, we were sort of discussing it before we get started our meeting. I read this, and with the trip that I took to Spring Hill to tour the plant at Spring Hill, you would not even know that that plant was a water treatment plant. And I'm assuming that that's close to what we're looking at building. Is that right, Matthew?
Yes, sir. It's So I don't know what our final facade will be, but he typically would have I read that too as well, and I actually sent something to Gail and Tommy because I didn't know if we needed to be prepared to talk about this. The way it was worded, I think actually the way I sent it back to Miss Gail is we won't have any, outside tankage or mats. Our buildings and structures are usually either going to have some kind of a nice siding. A lot of the ones we do will have a brick veneer. We don't typically have just a concrete, bare concrete structure. Also, the noise concerns. Obviously, we're going to be off the road a little bit, hopefully back in that southwest corner of the property. But even then, all the pumps and every equipment will all be inside the building. And just about any plant you drive up to, I mean, Mickey, you saw we went up to Spring Hill. You don't normally hear any of the equipment running on the inside or from the outside of the building. So I don't expect we'll have any issues with noise.
How about the sludge? Will there be much
Concerns, I don't
sludge?
that being an issue. Smell, smells generally are going to be from wastewater style plants where you've got a lot of organic material breaking down. We may have our dewatering pond or something, but I don't anticipate there being any issue with mosquitoes or odors or anything like that. Plus, it will be probably farther off the road even than our plant will be. So I don't expect. And then I think she had some concerns, or they had some concerns about people going in and out. And I mean, you're going to have a couple of operators probably working there, and then if Tommy and them are running samples, you may have some staff going in and out, once or twice a day, but don't expect there to be a significant increase in traffic or anything like that, on the road there. So, and if we lay everything out right, I mean, in theory, you really won't know that it's, if we set it back off the road like we're talking about and everything, keep, the tree line and as much of the natural vegetation as we can, I wouldn't expect that you would really know it's there. I mean, to be honest with you, the intention of any of these facilities is to make them as nondescript as possible. You don't want to draw attention to them being, some facility that somebody might want to go up and try and say, oh, what's this? So, we try and make them pretty nondescript. Obviously, there'll be some fencing around it just from a security standpoint, but I don't foresee it being, I don't foresee there being any issues. I mean, I think it'll be a nice facility. We'll keep they'll keep the grass cut and, be a good neighbor. But I've not had any of the facilities that we work with or places that we've been and talked to. I don't know that we've ever had any complaints from any of the neighbors, water and wastewater plants for that matter. Most places, keep them tidied up and they do a good job. So we're trying to be a good neighbor, and I don't expect there would be any issues.
This is Donnie. Is this guy's property across the river or adjacent on the same side?
The property in question is directly across the road from the parcel we're looking at. So there's a little white house. It's almost across. It's just down and across from the old barn that sits there close to the road. There's a little, I think it's a white house with a silver metal roof. Sits right there across the street from the property that we're looking at.
Yeah, I'm like, I agree with Mickey. I've been in the river at the Spring Hill intake. You can't hear it running when you're there.
As far as this intake in the river, you'll never know what intake's in the river.
Exactly. There are some, of course, there's trees there along the property line, so there's already some screenage. And then, we could kind of do a line of sight study there from their house and it worst comes to worst, we could plant some trees if we had to, as screenage. We've used Leland cypress in the past, and those are really fast growing.
And Ray, answering your question, will there be any sludge? Yes, there will be a little sludge. The Spring Hill plant was running close to 6 million gallons a day, and we looked at their pond, and it was maybe just a little bit bigger than this table.
Yeah, it wasn't very
That-
big.
It wasn't very big, and they were running 6, and it had very little water in it. Oh,
Well, I just wanted to make sure we did give him a reply. One thing I think to include in the reply too is while we're doing it, and also it's not necessarily, we're not putting it exactly where we want to. The state mandates where we can put it, so we don't have a lot of choices.
and I agree, but now, like I said, the Spring Hill plant was very nice, which now it was very well kept inside, and you couldn't hear yourself sort of inside with everything running, but pulling up to it, it was just like
It was still quiet enough that you could talk inside of
Yes.
the facility with all the high service pumps and everything running. So, I mean,
But you don't
it's,
have to have any public hearings on putting this in, do you, or any approval?
no, not that we know of.
Yeah,
We'll do.
I think he deserves a letter though of explanation from our side, just to be
Okay.
cooperative.
Well, and Ray, kind of to your point, I mean, in all fairness, the inlet site specifically was chosen because we need deep water access.
Absolutely.
It's not like we just threw a dart in a map. I mean,
Right. Yeah, we're not.
there's really only a couple of spots, and they're within a very short, small range right there in that area. It's not like we could go 5 miles left or 5 miles right. You know, we do well to go a few hundred yards in either direction to another acceptable site.
We're not necessarily happy with what we're having to pay for this spot either, but it's necessary for the whole.
Well, and it's absolutely the least amount of damage we can do. You know, if we can build a plant and only have one landowner affected, that's a small miracle. You know.
Okay.
I agree. I just want to make sure it's addressed.
Okay. So we'll address a letter to them and see if we can get that out and try to answer all the questions that they requested in the letter. Now, there will be some construction, and we understand that,
Right.
and we'll try to do our best with that. So, okay, any other new business?
Mr. Chairman, next month's meeting on June 16th at 9 o'clock will be at the Board of Education in their boardroom. I've set that up with Chris and Mr. Sorrells this morning. So that is where we will meet next month, and all of us can meet together.
Yes, all of us can be there, and we can do our social distancing, and it will still be electronically done.
Yes.
It will be closed to the public, just like this one is, but it will be electronically. Their boardroom is big enough that we can actually meet. So, and the way this system is set up, somebody has to call in so that we can do it electronically, I think is right. But now they've got it set up where they can
They will
do
stream off
everything
YouTube.
on
That's-
YouTube. Okay. Everybody hear
This
that?
is Bob Ramsey. I
Yes.
did have one more thing.
Okay, Bob.
The Verona Caney project, we had addressed the comments from Rural Development on the plans and specs and resent them to Rural Development, and Matt Kiter at Rural Development is reviewing those, and he had told me that he would get approval for us in a week, and a week would be this Thursday. So I'm expecting those, and I can put the project out for bid at that time.
Okay. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other new business? Okay. I'll look for a motion to adjourn then.
Go ahead, Doc.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn. This is Ray Wakefield, the adjourn guy.
Okay. Do I have a second?
This Donnie, I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Donnie. Roll call vote, please.
Donnie Moses,
Yes.
Joseph Warner,
Yes, ma'am.
Ray Wakefield,
Yes.
Tony Meyer,
Yes.
Mickey King.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you next meeting.
Thank you. All right.